Hey guys, welcome back to Sunday Glow. I'm Allison.
Now I'm Christine.
So let's just kind of catch up for a bit. How's your week been?
It's been interesting. I am finally done with having the coronavirus. I Today is my last day, and I'm out of isolation, which is super exciting. Um, yeah, I just feel like a refreshed person with this new found glow getting out of this place and finally going in public. So,
Yes, love to see it.
what about you?
This week's been pretty okay. Well, it's my second to last week before I go back to school. So I'm really just trying to make the most out of being home, trying to spend the most time being with my family, and just really soak in being home because I know I probably won't be home for a hot sec. So yeah, it's been good.
Oh, well, have you been doing anything fun or have any plans with your family?
We are no, I have to say we don't really have a ton of plans. So I wish I could tell you my life was more interesting, but no. We I got this new game actually from Amazon. It's the What Do You Meme Family Edition because I'm really just trying to get my family into more games, and it's something that my little sister Megan can also play, and it's something that my parents would probably relate to, and it's just easy to explain. So I'm excited. Maybe we'll break that out on Friday.
Oh, I love that. That's exciting.
Yeah, so in this week's episode, we're super excited because we know that the first few episodes we released were about our goals for the new year and how to get motivated, but we really want you guys to get to better know us. So we're going to be talking about our personality types so you guys can better understand maybe yourself and get a better understanding of who we are as well.
Yeah, so with that, let's set the tone for the week and share our Sunday intentions.
All right, Christine, what are you going into this week with?
So, for my Sunday intention, I really want to get organized for school and plan out the rest of my college. And I have been talking to my advisor and have been figuring out my schedule for this semester and beyond so I can graduate on time and just making sure everything's set. And then I also want to organize all of my courses. So I found this platform called Notion, and it's really cool. You can incorporate all of your courses, put in your Zoom link, put in a link to your syllabus. It's just like a one-stop shop, like organization heaven. So I've been really taking advantage of that and figuring out how to use it and just getting organized for school. So yeah, really
I love
exciting.
that. Do you feel like because you're getting a head start on planning your semester, it's actually hit you that you're a second semester junior?
I Yes, definitely. I just went through we just had sorority recruitment, and it kind of hit me that this is my second to last year. I'm an upperclassman now, all of that. And I we talked about this before, but I really didn't take advantage of my first semester as much as I should have, and I wasn't as social as I wanted to be. And so I really want to take advantage of that this semester, being more social, meeting more people, whether that's online or in person when it's safe to do so. I just really want to take advantage of that and meet more people, make the most out of my college experience. Um, yeah, because it's going by fast. So, yeah.
Love that.
What's your Sunday intention?
So, my intention for the week is definitely just to make the most out of being home. I'm really not only being more present around everyone when everyone's home, but also trying to spice things up. So, whether it's me cooking dinner twice a week so that my mom can come home and not have to stress out about that, or me being okay, everyone get in the living room, we're playing a game, and forcing everyone to get off their phones and stuff. That's something that I'm gonna try to do. So that's gonna be my intention for the week: get everyone off their phones, spending quality time with each other. Love that.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Okay. So, with that, let's hop into our current faves.
All right, Christine, what is your first fave?
So, my favorites this week are very coronavirus isolation inspired. So, my first fave is actually the Hydro Flask water bottle. I have the 32-ounce black water bottle. I believe Allison also has the same water bottle. Um, yeah, I love it. I have the straw lid, which is completely necessary in my opinion. And I used it so much this past week because I had like a sore throat as one of my symptoms. And I just found myself like always having it near me, always having it filled up, and it kept my water at the perfect temperature whenever I was drinking. So I really love it. I think it's a great thing to have.
Love it. Do you feel like the straw lid has changed the game?
Oh, it definitely has. I I literally find myself like when I'm doing work or like studying or whatever, I'll like leave it under my mouth so I can just like bend my head over and drink water, and like that sounds lazy, but you have to do what you got to do to get that
Facts.
water intake up. So, definitely a necessity. What's your first fave?
So my first fave, shout out Perv and Danielle, I know you guys are listening to this, is a hairstyling tool. It's the Revlon hair styler. So it's a 2-in-1 product. It's not only a blow dryer, but it's also like a blowout kind of straightening tool. I typically don't style my hair. Like I usually just shower in the morning, wash my hair, let it air dry throughout the day, and it's fine. But on the days I want to just feel more put together, I really love this tool. Honestly, I have pretty thick hair and it takes max like 15 minutes for me to blow dry, style, and it looks really good. It's like it gives you a blowout kind of look. So I really like that.
Yeah, and Allison has the best hair, so I would take any recommendation from her.
Oh, thanks, Christine. But okay, what's your second fave?
So my second fave is pillowcases, and in particular, I really like the satin or silk pillowcases, and so I used to have the slip silk pillowcase, and that one I got as a gift actually from Allison for Christmas last year. So sweet, but yeah, I absolutely loved it. I am not no longer using it just because it didn't match my all white aesthetic of my bedroom right now. And so I ended up purchasing these satin pillowcases off of Amazon, and they were $12.99 for two of them. And I think they're pretty comparable to the silk ones. They're definitely not as great of quality, of course, because like they're not like all the silk and all the fancy stuff, but they do the job. They have similar qualities in them. Like they still keep my skin super smooth when I'm sleeping. They don't give me bedhead in the morning. And I noticed like before I'd get those like lines on my face like from like when I use cotton pillowcases or just like regular ones. And so they don't happen to me anymore when I use like the satin or silk. So if you can purchase the silk ones, definitely recommend. They're great, but the satin ones are just as good. I find that I have to replace those a little more. Like after using my satin ones this past semester, I plan on purchasing a new set for this semester just because they wear and tear a little faster in the wash. So, yeah, definitely recommend. And I've been getting a lot of use out of them from sleeping all week.
Love it. Level up your sleeping game with these pillowcases, guys. Like, seriously, if you want that next level of self care, just change your cotton pillowcases for these silk ones. Love to see it.
Yeah. Simple little things they can make change the game. So, what's your second fave?
So, my second fave is a fragrance and it's from Madewell. It's the Chambray perfume. And it has notes of like floral, amber. It's a little bit musky. Like typically I go for the more light floral fragrances. Like my favorite ones are like the Jo Malone English Pear. I also really like Glossier You. But this one's really nice because it's a little bit more musky, a little bit more warm toned. It's really hard to describe fragrances when you're not able to smell them. But if you can, go into the Madewell store, try this out. I think it's awesome for the daytime because I'm someone that likes to have different fragrances for different occasions, but I really love it. Again, not really like I'm going out and like need to smell good for anyone but myself, but it's just kind of that extra element of self-care. Makes me feel good. I like to smell good for myself, and that's it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like the little touch you need to like finish off the look. So, I love that.
Exactly. So be sure to check out more of our faves on our website, SundayGlowPod.com. And with that, let's dive into this week's episode.
So, we're super excited to be going over our personalities this week and our types, and really allowing you guys to get to know us a little more, especially since like it's the beginning of this podcast and we're just trying to let you guys get to know us. And so we want to talk about this because we think that learning about our personalities through these tests have helped us pinpoint some of our strengths and our weaknesses and our beliefs and our fears. And we really want to share these realizations with you guys so that you can hopefully use them to realize new things about yourselves too.
For sure. And when we were doing research on like what aspects we really wanted to focus on, we found that there are just so many ways to classify your personality. But the ones that we really resonated most were with the horoscope, the Myers-Briggs, and the enneagram. So those are the three that we're going to be talking about in this week's episode.
Yeah, so if you guys walk away with one thing, we hope you realize that we're all different and we all have a different set of strengths and weaknesses, and we sometimes don't even fully fit into one set personality type, and we're going to go over which ones those are. And so realize that all you can really do is work to be your best self, and that version of yourself will look a lot different than someone else's.
So the first aspect of the personality we're going to be talking about is the horoscopes. So there are really three kind of subcategories of the horoscope. You have your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. And I'll just kind of give a brief overview so that you guys can get a better understanding of what that is if you don't know already. So the sun is your ego, your identity, your role in life, and the core of who you are. And that's directly in line with your birth date. So like if you just input the day you were born, that's probably your sun sign. The moon sign is the sign that rules your emotions, your moods, and your feelings. And it's likely the sign that you feel most when you're the most comfortable and when you're alone. And then your rising sign is the mask that you put on to present to people. It can be seen as your personal style and how you kind of come off to people and the impression that you have on people right off the bat. So what's your sun, moon, and rising, Christine?
Yeah, so my overall is Leo, and then so that's my sun as well. And after doing some research on that, I found that it means that I'm fundamentally bold and proud. I love attention and to be cared for, and I pay it back in kindness. And I know what my skills are and I know how to use them, which I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't say I love attention. If anything, I feel like I prefer to be on the back burn in a sense. I like to come up from behind and like, I don't know. I just don't
shock the world.
Shock the world. Yeah, that's what I guess so. I do think I'm kind.
You are kind.
And I do know what my skills are, and I do use them a lot. And so that's my sun, and my moon is Scorpio, and it says my emotional self is intense, passionate, and a bit dramatic, and I have trouble opening up and letting other people in, and I keep my deep emotions private, which I think I wouldn't say. I feel like I suppress my emotions. I think I've done that forever since I was a kid, and so maybe my emotional self is intense, but I just like don't ever pay attention to it or give it space in my mind. And so I wouldn't say, I guess for me it wouldn't be like as intense or passionate or dramatic as this like says it is, but I would say that like I think I am emotional because when I watch movies and stuff like that, like I'm the person that cries, but I definitely suppress my emotions. I probably shouldn't, but
do you think you suppress your emotions because you're like, okay, I need to put that away so I can get this done or like focus on this?
Yeah, I think I do. And I think when I was younger, I would see emotions and like feeling emotions kind of like as a weakness, which is definitely not true. But I think that's like what I amounted it to when I was little. And so just like over time, I've just like learned ways to like not let me feel emotions in a sense. So I've never really thought about it because I just never gave it the time of day, but I probably should.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like knowing you on a really personal level, I would say it's really interesting because I do notice like you do get more emotional when you like have a movie or you see something that's like kind of gives you a reason to be emotional. And I was talking about this with my mom, but like sometimes I feel like when you're crying watching a movie, it might not necessarily even be about the movie, but it's like built up emotions, but finally you have an outlet where crying and like showing your emotions is now justifiable. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And I think my it's funny because Natalie has to deal with like the run of this. This is my roommate, and she like there are times like this past semester when I would just like watch like a movie or literally an episode of Grey's Anatomy, and like whatever had been pent up in me or like anything that like went wrong like would come back to me in that moment, and I'd just be bawling my eyes out, and Natalie's like, it's Grey's Anatomy, like why are you crying? But it's just like everything else like in that moment. So I think it definitely has, it is intense, but I just suppress it for the majority of the time. And honestly, I'm okay with that because I'd rather be using my energy towards other things. And yeah, I just have gotten used to it. So that's my moon in Scorpio. And then my rising in Virgo is, I come across as precise, diligent, peace seeking, and organized. And I may seem a bit too attached to work, details, and the pursuit of perfection, which sometimes makes me a bit boring. And I think this is a little true. Actually, I think this is pretty true. I most times would get, I feel like I'm very detail oriented. I'm a very like hard worker, and I definitely am a peace seeker. Like I don't like to cause drama. Like I know for me, like I am like the friend that never has any drama going on with my other friends. Like I feel like my friends tell me about all the drama that's going on in their lives and like with their friendships and all that stuff, and like I I don't know, I just never had drama in my life like with friendships and stuff like that. I just either I like don't attract it or I don't bring it up. I'm not sure. Or if it does happen, like I'll probably just not be friends with them anymore cuz I don't need that like energy in my life. So, yeah, I think it's pretty accurate.
Have you, because I feel like similar to you, I would say I'm like pretty peace seeking. I don't really involve myself in a ton of drama. But when there's a conflict, let's say with a friend that comes up, do you think that you're the type to address it and like communicate off the bat? Or do you kind of just like let it fizzle out and suppress your emotions a bit?
I think I let it fizzle out, which is not good, but honestly, if it's like sometimes you just need that like little time to realize like is this something that is really bothering me? Like of course if it's really bothering me, I'm going to say something, but sometimes it's just like you have to realize that there are other reasons why that's happening. Like maybe that's not like a product of their personality, but more so like how they were raised or something that was different in like different attitudes or whatever. So I think letting it not fizzle out, but like let little like simmer a little and
Simmer down a
yeah,
bit.
simmer down a bit and see if it's something that's actually like something that needs to be brought up or something that needs attention drawn to it, because I think sometimes we can like get in the heat of the moment if you try to not like sit and think about it first. So I definitely am that person who will like accept it to a certain extent, go home, think about it, like kind of let it simmer a bit, see if it happens again. And like, of course, if it's something that's like really bad, then yes, I'm gonna bring it up, or yes, I'm gonna like not be friends with them anymore. But I think in general, I like to like sit and think first before I act.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. I feel like you aren't the type of person to lash out. Like, I honestly have never seen you lash out, like, or get mad for that matter. You're really good about, I think, like processing, taking a step back, and then coming back to it if it is something worth coming back to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it also depends on like how comfortable I am with the person. Like my roommate and I, she's like my little, and so like we're super close, and like we live together, and like we've gotten really close over the past semester, and like we'll scream at each other when we want to like let out emotions, but like it's definitely nothing that's like super harsh or anything like that. It's very lighthearted. Like we know our intention behind it is nothing but like love and like whatever. And so there are different situations where that happens, or if she does something and I'm like, bruh, like you need to not do that, or something like that. Like it's very lighthearted. We have our best intentions behind everything we do or say to each other. So I think it just depends on the person. It depends on how close you are. But in general, I'll usually like sit, process, see if it's something that's worth bringing up, and then decide from there. But
Yeah, totally. And I think that takes a lot of, like you said, like understanding the relationship that you already have with that person and realizing that like a little conflict, yeah, it might bother you in the moment, but if it's not that important, it's not going to like fundamentally change the relationship you have with your friend.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So what's your horoscope?
Okay, so my son is in a Pisces. I have actually a lot of friends that are Pisces, so shout out to the Pisces in my life. But we're fundamentally dreamy, insightful. We're very much in our own world, and we have a strong intuition for hidden emotions. I feel like Pisces kind of get a bad rep for being really emotional, which is so funny because I'm like best friends with Christine, and apparently the Leo likes to hide their emotions. But I would say I am not. I don't I honestly wear my emotions on my sleeve. Like if I'm upset, if I'm annoyed, if I'm happy, like you can kind of see it on my face and I feel like I can't hide my emotions. So that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but very easy to read, I would say. My moon is in a Sagittarius, so it means that like my emotional self is pretty restless, self-questioning, optimistic and independent, and I may hide my sensitivities behind an interest in like finding new ways to feel, and I find security and safety in home and family, which I would say is pretty accurate. Especially like this past year, I think I realized that like a lot of the things that I was doing was a distraction from what I was dealing with. But like when I'm boiling it down, especially with COVID and like not being able to like do all those things, as long as I have my friends, my family, and my home, and like that is stable in my life, that's really all I need. So that I would say is pretty accurate. And it's interesting how it said my emotional self is restless. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I feel like that's I don't know what it even mean restless even means when you're talking about your
Like I
emotional
can't
self.
I know. It's like is it like I can't sit maybe that's like I can't sit still with my emotions and I'm like constantly that's interesting. I feel like I can't really sit still with my emotions unless I'm
Really?
like talking to my mom. My mom is like my best friend, and unless I'm talking to her and she's like, okay, like let's set aside a space so you could like feel these things, and I'm like, okay, like I guess that makes me uncomfortable to just like sit and sulk, but that's interesting.
That's interesting that your mom does that because my mom literally I think that's the reason why I suppress my emotions now that I think about it.
Super
My
interesting.
mom like never like this sounds really bad, but she would never acknowledge emotions growing up or anything like that. So I think I love that your mom does that. Like I think that's great and I think it can like help you discover yourself more.
Yeah, honestly, if my mom's listening to this, love you, but she is one of the reasons that I feel like I've grown a lot emotionally, because she is like willing to sit down with me and be like, okay, like let's figure out why you're upset and let's like have a plan going forward of how you can address that. So love her. And my rising sign is a Leo, which is funny because Christine's a sun in Leo. So it come across as bright, good-natured, and magnetic. Energy may make me seem kind of like a know-it-all or a live wire, and always wanting to be center of attention, which I,
I don't see
similar
that
to
at all.
Christine, I also don't feel like I'm a center of attention. I'm also kind of more like put me on the back burner. But I think that once I get super comfortable with a group of friends, maybe I am kind of that like person that likes to be in the center. I don't know.
No,
That sounds kind of bad.
I feel like your energy is very like kind. Like when you said it, it comes across as like bright, good natured, and magnetic. I think that's completely true. I wouldn't say that you were like wanting to be the center of attention. I don't see that really at all. I don't know. Or know it
Yeah.
all. I don't think you're a know it all either. Because I feel like you're always wanting to learn more. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this also just goes to show like take these personality tests with a grain of salt. Like realize like not every single thing that they say is directly applicable to you, but yeah. So
Yeah.
totally okay if certain aspects of like the Leo or the Sagittarius, the Pisces don't relate to me. But yeah, I thought this was super interesting. Overall, pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say mine was about 70 to 80% accurate. But yeah, I don't think these things should be taken cut and dry. Like these, if anything, just like kind of help you learn more about yourself and learn how to pinpoint certain things and like certain emotions and certain ways you deal with emotions. So,
Totally. So, the next personality type that we're going to be talking about is the enneagram, and this is my personal favorite. So, the enneagram is a personality test that you can take, and we'll have it linked in the show notes. And basically, it reveals how emotions drive our lives and how we engage with others to get what we want and need. So, after taking the enneagram exam, that I was like, Christine, please take this. What is your primary type?
So my primary type is type 7, and I was like 98% type 7, and then I was also 92% type 3 and 1. So I think that like we were just saying, like our types will like differ and not be completely in one specific version. And I was reading over Allison's notes for her type 3, and like I related to a lot of the things that she had written down. So I think that I definitely am not just a type 7, but of course, like this one will describe me the most. But
Totally. So, my type is a type 3. I did relate to a lot of the things that the type 3s are known for, and like we can talk about it a little bit more. So, basically, type 3s are defined by their desire to achieve. They want to advance in the world and are absorbed in the pursuit of attainment. 3s have a need to be admired and see life as a game where winning is emphasized, which I was like, personally, I don't view life as a game where I have to win, but I definitely can see where like 3s can take that direction. 3s are adaptable and align themselves with the people and projects that matter, which I definitely agree with. They are competent and hardworking. They make it look easy even when they're actually expending a lot of effort, which is something that I really related to, in the sense that like I try to come across like something is really easy for me, but in my head, I'm like so in my head overthinking things, you know? But yeah. So that's a little bit overall about the type 3. What about the type 7?
so type 7s are people who truly want to experience everything life has to offer. They are optimistic, spontaneous, versatile, and high spirited. And I really related to this just because I think it has a lot to do with how I grew up and how I was raised and everything that I went through as a child. And just a little tangent, but like my father is in the airline business, so my brother and I got to travel the world growing up and really just like take advantage of like flight benefits. And so I think that's what really sparked our like interest of wanting to experience everything life has to offer and see new places and see new cities and all that kind of stuff. So we are constantly seeking new opportunities, but can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go, which definitely, like I said, relates to what I grew up in. And so it also says that they focus their talents on worthwhile goals, becoming appreciative, joyous, and satisfied, which I definitely think is true. And then they often are busy people who tend to squeeze every possible bit of enjoyment out of life, which again I think is very true. I think I'm a very appreciative and like grateful person, especially for my age. I think some teenagers my age could probably be blind to like the things in their life or like opportunities and stuff, but I'm extremely grateful and aware of all of my blessings. So I definitely think this is pretty true.
Right. I feel like, honestly, when you told me you were 7, like I wasn't surprised, but I also, it's interesting because I feel like you definitely are, from my perspective, like spontaneous in nature, in the sense that like you're down to do anything. And like, for example, the Soul Cycle class, if I told Christine like, hey, let's do Soul Cycle tomorrow at noon, she'd be like, okay, cool. Versus me, and I'm like, and I like get anxiety about like, wait, I don't know, what if I've never done that instructor before? Like, what am I doing tomorrow? Like all these things. So definitely agree that you're spontaneous, optimistic, and you are totally like very aware of your blessings and very grateful for everything in your life. And you totally communicate that to like everyone in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting because all of these things I think are like 100% true, but at the same time, I like we'll go into it later with like the Myers-Briggs, but I feel like I'm more of an introverted person. So, as much as I'm like always wanting to do new things, seek new opportunities and like take advantage of everything life has to offer, I think there's like a level of discomfort that I have to like go over because I know that I'm like more of an introverted person. So I would say like this is completely true, but there's also like other subconscious discomforts when I'm always being put into a new situation.
Yeah, and so it says that like the type 7, the core weakness is the tendency of growing bored and suppressing negative emotions. And it's just funny how this definitely related to like your horoscope, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because certain things in these would like cancel out the like horoscope and those things that
Right.
they were telling us. So, yeah, so the strengths and weaknesses for type 7 are like high levels of energy and optimism, thinking quickly and creatively, able to see many options or solutions, easily handle change in plans, and then the weaknesses are like difficulty committing to plans in advance, tendency to grow bored easily, yeah, completely true. Being perceived as self-centered or making impulsive decisions, which I don't think that's true, but I don't know. But I think overall, I do think I tend to get bored easily. Like I was just telling Allison yesterday that I wanted to like I wish I could switch around my room, but like the way that my TV is like mounted to my wall and like the way my bedroom is like organized, I can't really like switch it around that much. So, yeah. That's just like me being bored of my setup after one semester of college. But you know. But anyways, what are your strengths and weaknesses for type 3?
So, certain strengths of the type 3 is like they're very productive, efficient, they have a great zeal for like work success goals, and they're good at adapting and improvising. And I feel like those are all pretty accurate. I definitely would consider myself like very like task oriented, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Good because I feel like it allows me to get things done. Bad because sometimes I'm too focused on the task and not like being intentional about living in the moment. I also would say I'm pretty good at adapting. I think growing up, I am the oldest of three sisters, so I kind of always felt like I was responsible for kind of like creating the image of my family, which I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I felt like I kind of had to hold the fort down and like make sure like I was a good role model for my sisters, and things like that. And this also plays into the weaknesses of type 3. So type 3s are like focusing way too much on personal image. They can come across as insensitive, overly competitive. They're intolerant of failure from themselves or others, and they may repress emotions to achieve performance. So I think it took me a while to really understand this about me, but I like to say, I'm like, oh my God, I don't care what people think. But like at the end of the day, I definitely do. I think it's really tough to just like not. And I really respect those who are just so like, I'm just going to do me. I don't care what anyone says about this. I'm just going to go after him. Like, that's awesome. But I think knowing that type 3s are like this, it definitely affirms like, oh yeah, I definitely have this insecurity within myself of that. Like I do a lot of things to maybe like put on an image, and sometimes I'm like not conscious of that. And I hope that I don't come across as insensitive, because I would say I'm pretty sensitive
The
not only to,
opposite.
yeah, I feel like I'm pretty sensitive to not only like my feelings and like trying to stay in tune with that, but I'm also pretty sensitive to my friends and family's emotions, and I definitely like adapt to the room. Um so yeah, that's really interesting. And I would say I and this kind of related to what Christine said before, like I really try to sometimes repress emotions in order to get things done, but then I obviously will suffer the consequences later when like things build up. But if something is so prevalent and it's really bothering me, like definitely I will address it, and that takes a lot of courage to like communicate that like you're struggling with something, or you're just like something's bothering you, you know.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall, like, these pretty much match what I, like, know about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely don't think, like, you being insensitive is true, or overly competitive. I feel like, if anything, like, you're very, like, you come across as more of, like, a happy energy and, like, optimistic. And I definitely know you're a hard worker. Yeah, I don't know.
And like something, I don't know if you dove deeper into this, but there's like a whole thing with like a wings in the Enneagram. So like if you're a 3 wing 2, or if you're a 3 wing 4, like if you take the test, it'll tell you what you are. But I tested as a 3 wing 2. So this is really interesting because the wing 2 basically allows me to bring an authentic confidence to my 3 personality. So 3 wing 2s can be like motivating, encouraging, and generous because it turns like the status seeking into something that's more interpersonal. So it's like me wanting to achieve so many things and like being very goal oriented, but having that wing 2 allows me to like take all those efforts and apply it to like my friends and family so that I can help them like achieve what they want to do. So I feel like that's really accurate with me.
Yeah, I didn't do that part, so.
No, yeah, totally fine. But yeah, so overall, do you think your Enneagram is more representative of who you are or your horoscope?
I think right now, I think definitely the Enneagram over the horoscope. Um, but I feel like it's always changing because I do follow like Instagram accounts that are like about horoscopes and about Leos and stuff like that. And I definitely relate to some of the things that they're saying a lot. Maybe I should start following some Enneagram stuff. But yeah, I definitely think like based on my research today, my Enneagram is probably more accurate than my horoscope.
Totally. And I feel the same way. I feel like my horoscope, I would say it's maybe 90% accurate. I feel like my Enneagram is like 95% accurate. So
Mm-hmm.
close, but yeah. Okay, so, and then the final personality type that we're going to be talking about is the Myers-Briggs. So, Myers-Briggs is pretty well known across the board. It's another personality test that indicates how people perceive the world and make decisions. And I'm just going to give a brief overview, kind of breaking down the Myers-Briggs exam. So basically, after you take the test, you get 4 letters. And I got a ENFJ and Christine got INTJ. So I'm just going to kind of briefly go over like what those letters mean. So your first letter talks about the direction of energy. So either you're extroversion or introversion. So if you're extroverted, you prefer to direct energy towards people, things, situations, more focused on the outer world. And if you're introversion, you prefer to direct energy towards ideas, information, explanations of things, and that's more focused on the inner world. So I was an E, Christine was an I. The next one is if you are sensing versus intuition. And if you're an S or N, that really is about the type of information you process. So if you're more sensing, you prefer to deal with like the facts, having really concrete information in front of you and to have clarity in your decisions. And then if you test with an N, that means you prefer to deal with ideas, you like to look into the possibility of things, and you don't mind dealing with ambiguity. And then if you're T or an F, that reflects your style of decision making. So if you're T, that means you're thinking. So you decide on the basis of logic and you use a more analytical approach. And if you're feeling, you prefer using your values on the basis of decisions. So I was a F and Christine was a T. And then the final letter is whether you're a judgment or perception. So if you are a J, this means that you prefer life to be planned and well structured. And if you're a P, that means that you prefer to go with the flow, maintain flexibility, and respond to things as they come. And people say that differences in the last letter sometimes can lead to the most conflict in terms of like work and school relationships. Again, because J versus P really describes the lifestyle you adopt. So I think that luckily enough, me and Christine are both J's, so that just means like we have really similar working styles. But yeah, let's dive deeper into our Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, so like Allison said, I am INTJ, and they say that this person or this personality is called the architect, and it says that they're analytical, ambitious, confident, they love to pursue knowledge, and tend to be very logically minded, which I think is pretty true.
Totally.
Um, it says that they're one of the rarest personality types. They analyze everything around them. They have a thirst for knowledge. They are strongly independent and have a drive to be successful. And they aren't known to be warm and fuzzy. And they may come across as rude sometimes because of how honest they can be. It says that they do crave social interaction, but prefer to be with people who share values and priorities, like the same values and priorities. And so I think this is like somewhat true, but also somewhat not. I
Mm-hmm.
think I wouldn't say that I'm the most warm and fuzzy person, but I think I do show some empathy and like am empathetic to other people. I definitely am honest, but I'm not honest in like a rude way. Like I am very like respectfully honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess sometimes it can come across as rude, maybe to my family, to like my brother probably. But otherwise, I like definitely am not the kind of person who will like be intentionally rude to someone or like
Right.
intentionally confront someone in a rude manner. I definitely would not. I'm like more so the person that will be like kind and respectful. And so I think this is pretty accurate like overall.
Mm-hmm.
I do think I'm very independent and I think that's like a lot to do with the I. So yeah, what's your overarching?
So again, I'm an ENFJ, and ENFJs are known as the protagonists. They're warm, forthright, love to help others, and have strong ideas and values. And they're also quite rare. They form like 2% of the population. I feel like that is pretty accurate. I would say I am pretty warm. I think that
Definitely.
I'm like pretty friendly, like honestly, down to be friends with anyone. Um, I do love to help others, and I feel like that definitely plays into like I keep relating back to this, but me being the oldest sister, I just
Mhm.
was kind of like given the responsibility to like be that caring, nurturing person. And I feel like even in my friend groups, I'm just kind of that person that like loves to kind of like take care of other people. So I would definitely say that's pretty accurate. And I do definitely have strong ideas and values. And I think becoming more mature, I'm realizing how much that influences all aspects of my life. Like, I definitely have friends who share similar values with me, but I also know like there are certain things I just won't compromise on. Like, I totally agree, like, it's valid to have friends of different beliefs, of different values, but there are just certain aspects that I am like confident in and I know that I won't compromise in. So I would feel like that's pretty accurate as well.
Yeah, I feel like that all pretty much describes you. I don't know. I think this is like there's nothing really that I think you wouldn't be. I don't know.
Yeah. So something super interesting is that the Myers-Briggs also can tell you like how you approach relationships, and this can be both friendships and like romantic relationships. But yeah, so tell us, how do INTJs approach relationships?
So it says that they approach strategically with clear cut goals and a plan for reaching them, which I think is so funny because I love planning my life out and I like look on Zillow, I like have like plans on how like where I want to live, what I want to do. As much as I'm someone who's like very spontaneous, I am also someone who is a very much so organizer and loves like writing things out and planning my life. So when it comes to relationships, I've talked about this with Allison before. I feel like I am someone who's like, okay, I want to like be in a relationship X like when I'm X years old, or I want to like be married by this year of my life or have kids this year of my life. Like I definitely have like these like thoughts in my head, and so I think I relate to this really well. But Allison and I have talked about this, and like honestly, when it comes to this part of my life, like I have to leave it in God's hands and just trust in his plan and trust that he knows what's best and will bring the right person in my life the way or at the time that he thinks is the best. And so I've had to let go of this aspect of me like wanting to create a goal and a plan because honestly, like I can look for a person and I can like go on dating apps or like try to meet people, but in the end of the day, like the person that's for me will come into my life when it's meant to be. And so like of course I'm going to do what I can to like attract those people in my life, but I have to let go of the fact that like it's not going to come at like a certain time.
I am so proud of you for saying that because no, seriously, like I think it's really rare nowadays to find people who relate to that, in the sense that a lot of people like want to take control of every aspect of their life. And don't get me wrong, it's awesome to put yourself out there and it's awesome to like get on the apps and meet new people. But if you're someone that believes in like a higher power, and like we believe in God, obviously, letting go of that control takes so much strength and courage. So really proud of you to do that.
Yeah. What about you?
So actually similar to Christine, and this is why we like relate to a lot about these like relationship type things, is because ENFJs take relationships very seriously and look towards the long haul rather than like having a more casual approach to things. And this kind of plays into like ENFJs loving to help others. So once you have like a solid relationship with an ENFJ, there's no greater joy than to help them along their goals. And I feel like this is really accurate for me. I never really approached dating in a super casual way. I guess my perspective has always been like, if I don't really see myself dating you in the long term, I don't want to waste my time. And this may sound really like insensitive or brutal or whatever, but that's just always been me. It's like I rather be alone than be with someone who is clearly not right for me. And I think that's always just kind of been my personality when it comes to these things. So I'm with Christine on the whole like letting God take reins on my relationship aspect of my life. And I think this has definitely grown as I've gotten older. I feel like when we're young, we have so much pressure to be in a relationship because of like societal influences. So I'm at that point in my life where like if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm like confident in who I am right now with and without someone. And if it'll come and if God wants it to happen in my life, then it will. But I totally agree about taking it very seriously. I feel like I have a really strong core group of friends, and like I'm very warm and friendly to everyone, but I have like a very select group of people that I'm like vulnerable and comfortable enough and I trust enough with like a lot of my life. And because I'm so selective, like those people I know, like one, I can trust them, but also I want to help them improve whatever area of life they want to improve upon. So that's definitely pretty accurate for me.
Yeah, totally. I think it's extremely accurate, and I love what you just said about how you definitely don't go towards like more casual relationships or casual approach when you're going into like dating or like talking to people like in terms of like relationships. And I think that also has a lot to do with how like we became best friends, like bonded over like when we were meeting each other in college, because I feel like we took a different approach in college. We weren't like the crazy partiers or anything like that. We were more so like wanting to be intentional and like meet really great people and like make really great friendships in college and make the most out of that aspect, and not so much like making it like the best party to go to or like meeting a ton of guys and stuff like that. So I think that's something that really describes you well.
Yeah. And so I'm again like a year older than Christine. So like when I found my little who also agreed on these things, I'm like, oh my God, we can like help each other, build each other up. Like I loved it. So really grateful to have met Christine and also just relate on these things as well.
Yay. Okay. So I overall think that my Myers-Briggs was pretty accurate. I think overarching like all three of these different personality types and tests and whatever, I think that they like mesh together, like different aspects of it mesh together to who I am. And I think taking different types of personality tests, there are so many you can take. Like these are not just the three of them that exist out there. Like I know there's the Berkman test and other ones that can help you figure out your best work style or something that you're passionate about and like all that kind of stuff. So I think like combining all of them, they can help you realize your personality and really pinpoint different things that you're good at, some things that you may want to work on. But overall, I think with these three that I found out a lot about myself, and I think a lot of them gave me a new insight on how I could like pinpoint certain things in my life.
Yeah, like honestly, after taking these exams, I feel like I'm gonna ask all my friends to take all three, or just to like tell me their three and then put them on the contact of my phone and be like, okay, Christine, INTJ, Leo, Enneagram 7. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's really fun. So hopefully this episode inspired you guys to dive deeper into your personality. You know, take the exam, get to know yourself a little bit better, ask your friends, like, what are their strengths and weaknesses. And I feel like knowing these things, not only about yourself, but about each other, will allow you to better communicate with the people in your life and better understand what they're going through, how they make decisions, things like that.
Yeah, so our quote of the week is to be the reason someone feels welcomed, seen, heard, valued, loved, and supported. And we really want to wrap up with this because we think that it's a good reminder at the beginning of the year to really be the reason that someone does feel welcomed and seen and heard and valued. And so we encourage all of you to go do that and out in the world.
Yay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully it inspired you guys to dive deeper into your personalities, get to know yourself better, get to know your friends better. Be sure to check out our Instagram at SundayGlowPod. Check out our website, SundayGlowPod.com. And with that, we'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.
Bye.